This Friday, Charlie was supposed to speak at a conference with the lead pastor of that church, Cornerstone, Gary Hamrick in Tennessee, and that conference will go on as scheduled in honor and memory of Charlie's life and legacy. And joining us this morning is Pastor Gary with more on what this all means for Charlie's movement and ministry moving forward. And full disclosure, Pastor, I do attend Cornerstone too. Good to have you this morning. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Jan. Thanks for having me.
I know Charlie, I know he's a friend to you. What was it about him that initially drew you two together? And why did you decide to host conversations with him there at Cornerstone? Why was that so important to you?
You know, what first drew me towards Charlie was just his love for God and country. We both just have a deep love for America, and we have a deep love for Jesus and his word, and we want people to understand the saving grace of Jesus Christ. And that clip you played, that was exactly Charlie's heart. That's my heart. And so that's why we first connected, and he came to our church just to share that balance between, you know, what can we do with our faith to influence the world, to make a difference in our culture. And Charlie was a man who basically, his biblical views shaped his political views that challenged the cultural views, and that's a good thing for America.
Yeah, and what's interesting is you kind of have this unique perspective on Charlie's life because you knew him for years, so you saw how really in the past few years he had grown much closer to Jesus and become really more rooted in his faith and more vocal about that. How pivotal do you think that was to the success of his organization, Turning Point USA?
Yeah, you know, Charlie's growth in his faith was the reason why he ended up starting Turning Point Faith as an arm of TPUSA, because he wanted to also integrate his faith with his political views, because he saw that those two things were inextricably linked. In other words, our faith should shape our values, our faith should shape our views, and for Charlie, that's how it worked. His faith shaped his political views, and he just wanted to make an impact in the culture.
What did he teach you personally, and what part of his legacy should the next generation of Christians hold on to the most?
You know, for me, the thing that was the best example that stood out from Charlie that taught me was just be a man of truth. Be a person who understands the importance of speaking the truth, seasoned with grace. We don't need to be abrasive about it, but just to be bold and courageous. And, you know, he exemplified that unto his dying day. He was courageous to go on these college campuses. He would engage in conversation with anybody who agreed with him, and especially those who disagreed with him, because he just wanted to be bold, and he loved the idea of freedom of exchange of ideas, the freedom of speech. And so that was Charlie's heart, and that's what he really influenced me the most about, just being bold and courageous.
Yeah, in that interview that you did with him, he said Jesus was 100% grace and 100% truth.
That's
and
right.
That if speaking truth offends someone, that's on them. So how do you, as Ephesians 6:14 says, you know, stand firm with the belt of truth buckled around your waist, in a society that looks at violence as the answer to silence truth and silence believers and silence Christians?
Yeah, it can be intimidating, which is why I said to our congregation on Sunday, just remember that John 15, Jesus says, if they hated you, remember they hated me first. So it is unfortunate we live in a society that sometimes wants to react this way. When they don't like what you say, sometimes they will resort to violence. It's a terrible commentary on the spiritual condition of our country right now. But Christians just continue to stand firm in your faith and be truthful, because somebody once said to me, the highest form of respect I can pay to someone is to tell them the truth, and that's what's so important.
I think something you said too on Sunday was very interesting. You said it's important we don't make idols out of men.
Yeah.
And that in this moment, Charlie would not want to be remembered for Charlie. He would want you to remember Jesus, remember your faith, and continue what he started.
Yeah, that's because, you know, look, Charlie's true hero was Jesus. And if we just start to make a hero out of Charlie, then we're missing the ultimate goal, which is to promote Jesus. That was Charlie's life. He wanted to promote Jesus in all things. And so I'm sure that if we started to exalt him over Jesus, he would be very disappointed, as we should be.
Now,
yeah.
And what do you think will be the biggest test of faith for believers in the coming decade?
I think it's standing firm in your faith, not being intimidated. It can be an intimidating thing when people resort to violence, and it can cause Christians to, or anybody who's being attacked by something violent, to shrink back, to withhold, and to be reticent. But in these days, we have to just continue to be bold and courageous in our faith.
Lead pastor at Cornerstone Chapel, Gary Hamrick. Thank you for joining us this morning. God bless. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Jan. Thank you.